This is a melanated excellence video, and shout out to the individual on Instagram who sent this to me. And it's coming from the website We Buy Black. Now, I want you to take a look at the picture right here and look at the woman right there who's sitting in the chair wearing the blue. If you could look at her and you tried to guess her age, many of you would probably say maybe she's in her 70s, maybe 80s. Would you believe that this woman is 103 years of age? I must say, for 103, she looks damn good for her age. 103 years of age. Now, what makes this story even more interesting, now I'm assuming that the other women with her are also her relatives. Now, what makes this story interesting is because behind them is the store that she still helps to this day currently run at the age of 103. She is still very active in the business that she and her husband started back in 1952. Now, I'm only going to assume that her husband is probably deceased. Otherwise, I would prefer that he would be in the picture as well, but he's not. But she's still breathing. 103, and she does not look it. Like, she really does not look 103. If I had a closer image up of her, you'd be like, wow, she looks like, well, you know what they say. But I'm gonna go ahead and read this article so you can get more info about this business. Mary Woodruff and her husband James opened Woodruff's Cafe and Pie Shop in 1952. And the 103-year-old still helps run the business. At that time, there were very few black-owned businesses in Monroe, Virginia, a small town not very far from Lynchburg. And remember what I told you about them places that have burgs and ville in their name, especially if they're in Virginia. Now, you have a place that has the Lynch and Burg in the same title. That pretty much lets you know all you need to know right there. Mary and James built a cafe and an apartment upstairs, which they lived in. It was the start to a ride that very few could have predicted, a ride that's still moving. Jet Magazine began publishing around the time Mary and James opened their pie shop. Jet Magazine is no longer printing and was sold by Johnson Publishing Company in 2016. Woodruff's Cafe and Pie Shop, however, still sells about 75 handmade pies on any given Saturday. It hasn't been a single smooth ride, however, after 30 years in business. The shop closed in 1982. Woodruff's daughter, Angela Scott, however, reopened the business in 1998 with her husband, desiring to keep the family tradition alive. Keeping the tradition alive, however, wouldn't be as easy as Angela had hoped. When Angela first reopened, business was pretty slow. She mostly sold sandwiches and customers just weren't responding, frankly. There were days that we didn't have any customers, maybe one or two, she admits. Angela had serious thoughts about closing the business, as any entrepreneur might be inclined to do. With her mother's encouragement, Angela continued to press on and also got back to the family staple of pies. Things quickly began to change. Today, there is a sign for Pie Shop outside, and at 103 years old, Mary Woodruff is still helping to run the shop. Scores of businesses have come and gone, and yet Woodruff's Cafe and Pie Shop is still churning out sweet goodness each day. Good things happen to those who wait, but in this case, very sweet things happen to those who bake. I must say that was a very interesting article, a very interesting read right there. Like, this is just an amazing, I guess you could say, turnaround story. Like, here you have this woman who, along with her husband, back in the 50s, opened up their business in Virginia, which is still hailed as one of the most racist places in America. Can you imagine what it was like back then during Jim Crow and that close to Lynchburg? And, you know, they had unfortunately closed their business, and then their daughter came in and opened it back up with her husband to keep it going. And then it seemed like it was going to fall again, but then they went back to their roots, and now the business is thriving. And this woman who was 103 is still helping to run the business to this day. Like, that's amazing, because most women like her age, if they're fortunate to get to that age, would have been retired, but that shows you right there that this is something that keeps her active. This is something that keeps her mind right. And I'm guessing it's therapeutic for her. I am saluting to everyone involved, even to her husband, who I can only assume is deceased, for persevering and having a business to run as long as it did. And, you know, through the obstacles, they still managed to come out on top. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure y'all follow me on Twitter if you haven't done so already. Have your notifications turned on, and I will talk to you in the next.